Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start our Sunday class, Gita class, with some mantras first. Om Parthaye Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayan Swayam Vyasen Gratitam Puran Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrit Varshini Bhagavati Mashtadashadhyayani Am Twam Anusandhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshini नमोस्तु ते व्यास विशाल बुधे फुल अरविंद आयत पत्र नेत्र येन तव्या भारत तैल पूर्ण प्रज्वलितो ज्ञान में प्रदीपा परपान पारी जाताए तोत्र वेत्र एक पाने ज्ञान मुद्राए कृष्णाए गीता अमृत दुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोगदा गोपाल नंदना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोगता दुग्धम गीता अमृतम महत वसुदेव सुतम देवम कंस चानूरमर्दनम देवकी परमानंदम कृष्णम वंदे जगत गुरुम भीष्म द्रोण तटा जयद्रथ जला गांधार नीलोत्पला शल्य ग्रावती कृपेन वहने कर्णेन वेला कुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण गोरमकरा दुर्योधन अवर्तनी सो तीर्ना खलु पांडवे नदी के वर्तका केशवा पाराशरे वत्सरोजमलम गीता अर्थ गंधोटकम नाना ख्यानक केसरम हरि कथा संबोधन अबोधितम लोके सज्जन शतपदे रह रह पे पिए मानम मुदा भूयाद भारत पंकजम कलिमल प्रध्वंसी न श्रेयसे मूकम करोति वाचालम पंगुम लंघ्यते गिरिम यत्कृपात्महं वन्दे परमानंद माधवम यम ब्रह्म वरुण इंद्र रुद्र मरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यस्तवे वेदै सांग पद क्रम उपनिषदै गायन्ति यम सामगा ध्यानवस्थे तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यम योगिनो यस्यन्तं न विदुसुर असुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः. We study Bhagavad Gita every Sunday. So right now we are on chapter 4, Gyan Karam Sannyas Yoga. We saw in the beginning of this chapter, Arjun asked the question, if you say Gyan is better, then why you are asking me to do this Ghor Karma? So in order to answer Arjun's question and erase the doubt also in his mind and in our minds also, Lord Krishna is elaborating on karma. How can we attain that perfection while doing our duties? Beautifully, he is explaining it to us in detail. It's almost like painting a picture and keep on adding more and more beautiful colors on it so that everything is very clear to us. We ended the class with verse number 15, where Lord Krishna said, having known this, so that means how to do the karam, how to do your duty. The ancient seekers after freedom also performed actions. Therefore, you too perform action, as did the ancients in the olden times. So don't run away from your duties. Don't run away from the action. But with the proper knowledge, do your duties and attain the perfection. And perfection over here really means the goal, liberation, freedom. And then he says, listen, there is a great difficulty in understanding what constitutes right action. How? Let's look at the next verse. We'll start our class with the verse number 16. Kim karam, kim akaram iti, kavyaha api atra mohita, tatate karam pravakshyami, yat gyatva mokshyase ashubhat. Kim means what? Karam, action. Again, kim is what? Akaram, inaction. Iti means thus. Kavya, the wise, the sages. Api also, atra, in this. Mohita, deluded, confused. That means that they, to you, Karam action. Pravakshyami. I shall explain. I will teach. Pravakshyami. Yat means which. Gyatva, having known. Mokshase, shall be liberated. Ashubhat, from evil, from unauspiciousness. Ashubha. What is action? What is inaction? As to this, even the wise are deluded. Therefore, I shall teach you. Action. That means the nature of action and inaction, knowing which you shall be liberated from the evil. And the evil over here really means the wheel of birth and death. Because without knowing how to do the action properly, we just keep coming here again and again. So this is what evil really means over here. That means not fulfilling your ultimate goal, not reaching where you're supposed to go, failing again and again. This is, I'll teach you. All of us know, or we understand, action means movement of limbs. That's how much we know about action. And inaction means not moving. This is like a popular definition of action and inaction. So which is no doubt quite acceptable, but as far as a very ordinary thinking, that means we have not thought deeper than that. We think when I'm speaking or when I'm doing something, my actions are being done. That's all. But from the philosophical standpoint, the concept and features of both action and inaction change. So we got to look at this action and inaction little deeply. And that's what Lord Krishna is telling us. Because we want to develop ourselves. So for the purposes of self-development, when we consider action, it's not merely observing our manifested qualities. That means the movement of these limbs. We got to look at the subtle working motives behind our actions also. Why are we doing it? Because action by itself cannot be considered either good or bad. It is the motive behind it which determines the quality of any action. A beautiful action in itself could be a poisonous act if the motive behind is low and vicious. So that is one thing we got to look at. Okay, what is the motive behind our action? So after stating this difficult problem of discriminating between action and inaction, Lord Krishna is promising here that he will teach us what exactly constitutes the right action. By keeping in mind, we can save ourselves from coming back again and again. Okay, he says, I'll teach you all this. Listen carefully. What is a proper action? What is an improper action? Or what makes it a proper action and what makes an improper action? Karmana hi api bodhavyam, bodhavyam cha vikarmana, akarmana cha bodhavyam, gahana karmana gati. So verse number 17, karmana, the right action or a recommended action. He means for api also, bodhavyam should be known. Again, the same word, bodhavyam should be known or must understand. Cha means and, vikarmana, forbidden action. Akarmana, of inaction. Cha means and, bodhavyam should be known. Gahana, gahana means difficult to understand. That means profound or very difficult to measure. Karmana of action, gati of path. So he's telling us it's very difficult. That's why I'm explaining it to you in detail. He says, for verily the true nature of right action should be known. Also that of forbidden action. Forbidden could be an unlawful action. Nishidh karam. And of inaction. Then he says, imponderable is the nature of action. Imponderable. So we got to think about it deeply. So work has been divided, action has been divided by Lord Krishna in 3 categories. We can see that right in the beginning. So life means activity. Activity is the very cornerstone of our life. So that's why he says, you got to understand it. So first he says there's a karam and a vikaram. Vikaram, we should not do. Forbidden actions. Ancient seers of every place, every faith, every religion, they say don't do the destructive actions. Those are the nishid, where we hurt somebody, we steal, we cheat, we kill. Thou shalt not kill. That's nishid. That is forbidden. That is vikaram. Okay, so nishid karam and vikaram, same thing. Okay, life is given by God. We don't have any right to take life. But when we are doing constructive karam, so karam itself, karmanahi api bodhavyam, it can be again divided into 3 kinds. Some karam we do daily, which are called the nitya karam. Every day. Then there are some special duties we do, which are called naimatik karam. Okay, periodically there are certain duties we perform. And then there are some kamya karam, the desire prompted actions. Okay, so first there's a karam and a vikaram. Vikaram we should not do if we want to attain that liberation, moksha. But in the karam also there is a nitya karam, naimatik karam, and kamya karam. The yogi guru says, don't even do kamya karam. Keep on reducing the desire prompted activities. Only then it becomes a Karam Yoga. So this is a Vedic meaning when it comes to karma. So Lord Krishna is advising us, advising Arjuna also here, that in the largest implication of the Vedic technique, karam does not mean only rituals. All dedicated actions are karam. Life is but a name for continuous activities. If we see morning till night, then even at night, we are doing the karam. Sleeping is a karam too. So avoid vikaram, learn to do the karam. Constructive and creative activities for self-development. And what is the akaram? Because he mentioned karam, vikaram, and akaram. What is akaram? There is if we look at the next verse and understand also, an action is to be evaluated not merely on its face value, but after a sincere consideration of the motive working behind it. Then we know whether it's a akaram or not. Akaram does not mean just sitting and doing nothing from a philosophical point of view. Okay. So let's look at verse number 18. Karmane akaramya pashyet akarmane cha karamya sabuddhiman manusyeshu sayuktaha kritsan karam-krit. Karmani, in action, akaram, in action. Okay. Ya means who? Pashyet, see. Akarmani, in action. Cha means and, karam action, ya means who. Sa, he, buddhiman, wise. Manusyeshu, among humans. Again, see, sa means he, yuktaha, yogi. Krit, san, karam krit, performer of all actions. He who recognizes in action. Okay, so in action, in the action. And action in inaction is wise among men. He is a yogi and a true performer of all actions. So basically, he is telling us to become a akarmi. That doesn't mean that he is telling us don't do any action. So you got to understand, this is a very deep philosophy embedded in this verse. Okay, remember in the previous verse, he said, don't do any forbidden action. Now he is telling us how to do our duties. Okay, because doubt comes into our mind that is he really telling us to become inactive, become inaction? No. Gita constantly tells us do your duties, but how to do your duties? By following this formula. Karmani akaram ya pashyet akarmani cha karamya. Complete state actionlessness. That kind of a state, actionlessness. That means a state of desirelessness. That is a state of an infinite Godhead. So that means do the actions because you are supposed to do, because don't that you want to do it. It's your duty to do it. So action should be seen from that point of view. It's my duty, not because I desire. Because desirelessness is the state of mind of a yogi. No personal desires. This is the most sattvic state. Some people translate this akarma into inactivity also, if you can understand that better. Doing, but mind is attached to Godhood. So that's why I said it's the greatest sattvic state or a great equanimity. This kind of a person is moving towards the goal. So remember the desirelessness. That means there's no selfishness. You're just doing it because you're supposed to do. That's it. Remember, the action itself is a child of desire. Through action alone, we can create things. And created results are in their very nature finite. So by keeping this formula, if we live this life, then we are moving towards our ultimate abode, our goal. So it's not a physical inactivity, because physical inactivity is idleness. Physical inactivity is tamsikta. Because sometimes we could be physically idle, but mind is churning. Because there's an intense activity happening within. Over here, he is talking about physically active, mentally absorbed in the highest. This is what akaram is. In spite of all our activities, the observer in us, which observes the activity, is most inactive. Just like we know, when the fan moves, electricity doesn't move. When the fuel burns, fire is not burning. The same way, when our limbs are working, whole body, mind, intellect, they are working, but there is something in us which is stable. So identification with that light in us makes us a karmi, who we are. So in action, that is a Karam Yogi, if we can learn to do that. So this is the kind of a person, he says, a jnani. Not just a jnani, buddhiman. He is an intelligent, full-grown human creature, buddhiman. He is the intelligent one among men. He is certainly one who is very near to the self, Atma Yukta. So if we want to become buddhiman, we want to become a yogi, this is the prescription for us. So in short, desireless activities, when undertaken and performed in a spirit of dedication, they will purify us. And that's how this intellect also gains a new keenness, and that's what buddhimata is. Capacity to observe ourselves as an actor on the stage of life is a capacity which is divine and noble. Immediately, you will see that the selfish preoccupations with the life's over-changing incidents and accidents, they drop off. Okay, so let me read it again to you. The literal meaning of this verse, and hopefully you have gotten the gist of it. He who recognizes inaction. So that means while staying busy, which part in me is not moving, not changing? And action in inaction is wise among men. He is a yogi and a true performer of all actions. Okay, so very deep verse. Yasya sarve sam arambha काम संकल्प वर्जिता ज्ञान अग्नि दग्ध कर्मानम tam ahu panditam putha. This great teacher doesn't leave us just there with this definition. We'll see that in next several verses he's going to elaborate on it, how to reach that state. Yasya means whose, sarve means all, sam arambha, undertakings, Kam sankalap varjita, free from the desire for material pleasures. Okay, Kam sankalap, sankalap of the Kam. Gyan agni, dagd, whose actions have been burnt by the fire of divine knowledge. It's not just a material knowledge, divine knowledge here. This is what Gyan is. Tam means him, Ahu, call. Panditam, a sage. Buddha, the wise. Whose undertakings are all devoid of desire and purposes. So it's like a desire for material pleasure. So we some terms used in Bhagavad Gita, if we take it literally, we lose the implication of those words. So over here, just remember the material pleasure, Kam Sankalp, and whose actions have been burnt by the fire of knowledge. Him. So this kind of a person is called a sage by the wise people. So wise people call this kind of a person a sage. Okay. So he's telling us how to reach, not just by sitting and doing nothing, but doing your duties. But how to do your duties? You become a sage. Clearly, he's saying that free your mind from your material pleasures. That I will get happiness in this material world from this Maya. Free your mind from there. Because average mind thinks that, yeah, in this object I did not get pleasure, maybe some other object I'll get the pleasure. This person could not satisfy me, maybe I'll have somebody else who will satisfy me. Okay, so this is a very low thinking. He's taking it out of us and he's making us see the light, the Gyan Agni. So, who is a perfect sage is one who will undertake these kind of actions. It's not that he will not plan. Doesn't mean that he won't get the fruits. But his mind is not absorbed in that all the time. Okay, so do not try to dissect these verses. These are very deep verses. Try to understand with what you have already learned. Okay, and then try to see what you get out of them. So this person should not allow, if we are trying to become like that, do not allow your abilities and capacities to run to waste. And how do we waste our mind? When our mind is preoccupied in the sentimental fears regarding the results of our actions. And this is what the survey arambha is. When we think that I am the one who is starting it, this is my job, this is my undertaking. Survey some arambha. Can we just take ownership of anything? No. Who created this beautiful world? God did. We are just a speck over here to do our duty. Don't think that you are starting by yourself, for yourself. So that's why I said that mental preoccupation with the result we should let go. And this is the knowledge. When a person's intellect is illumined with this divine knowledge, then that person realizes that the bliss it seeks will be attained not from the objects of the senses, but in a loving service of God. Then what really happens? Doing everything, but striving to perform every action for the pleasure of God. Everything belongs to Him. I'm just a little instrument over here to do my duty for His pleasure. So that's why he said the wise people call this kind of a person a sage. Even when this person functions in the world outside, he is reveling in his own divinity inside. So these limbs are working, mouth is talking, ears are hearing, but reveling only in the bliss. And such a sage, even when has found working in the world outside, is expressing the will of the divine, not his own desires. His action, that's why his actions are burnt by the fire of knowledge. I'm here to please my beloved. Is he happy with me or not? Every action of mine should be in service of him. And that is the knowledge. So devoid of all desire prompted actions and attachments to their results, having no selfishness in the mind. And when a sage performs these kind of actions in the community also, he feels that who am I to do anything? No action. This is a karam. Doing something, but still feeling I'm not doing anything. So his actions are equivalent to inaction. This is what he means by this. And all his actions are consumed in the fire of knowledge. And to teach this, Lord says, Tyaktavaha karam fal asangam, nitye triptaha nirashraya, karmane abhi pravrita api na eva kinchit karoti sa. Tyaktava, given up, having abandoned. What? Karam fal asangam, attachment of the fruits of action. Nitya tripta, always satisfied. Complete santoshi. Nirashraya, without depending upon anything. Karmani, activities. Abhiprivrita, engaged. Api means even, na means not, ev means verily. Kinchit, anything. Karoti, does. So means he. Remember all these verses which we are talking about today? Just group them together. Remember what you learned, and then now he's elaborating it further. How can we become a karmi? Having abandoned attachment to the fruits of action. Tyaktava karam fal asang. Ever content. Depending on nothing. He does not do anything. Okay. So no doership in him. That doesn't mean he doesn't do anything. He could be the busiest person on this earth. But he is a karmi. Though engaged in actions. So he clarified it over here. Karmani abhipravrita api na eva kinchit karoti sa. And when you think that you are not doing anything, then there's no burden. When you are not doing it for certain purpose, for certain fruit to get, no desire, there's no burden. That's why this kind of a person is free while living also. Complete freedom, because what is the burden on our minds? What will I get? What will others say? What will happen to me? Will they like it or not? Those are all burdens. Those are all fruits of the actions. And while having those kind of burdens on our mind, we don't even put enough energy into what we are doing. Because we have dissipated most of our energy through thinking like that. So he is telling us, how can you do your duties like a yogi? Remember, actions cannot be classified by external appearances. It is the state of the mind that determines what is inaction and action. State of mind. So we'll talk more about it. We'll start from this verse next week, verse number 20, because we have Urmil's recitation also of first few verses of this chapter, and then we'll have some dialogue too. Om Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you.